Welcome back to The Rhythm of Money. Season 2 begins today, and before we talk about spending plans, saving, investing, retirement, or any of the practical work ahead, I want to start with the questions underneath all of it. What do you hope to achieve with money? And what do you actually believe is achievable with your money? Because the future you believe in, not that you necessarily want, is already shaping what you spend, what you finance, what you postpone, and what you make possible today. I'm Indigo Dutton, retired investment advisor and also a former business consultant and psychotherapist. If you're finding the show for the first time, you're in the right place. This episode stands on its own and it works wherever you're beginning. Although season 1 will be there if ever you want a deeper dive into exactly how we get the nervous system to be regulated around money and allow cleaner choices. For those of you who have been here, season 1 helped you uncover the unconscious vows influencing your financial decisions. We developed ways to work with the inner conflict that can arise around money. The reset is there for the difficult moment. Focusing is there when something heavily charged needs some real attention. The daily first receiving practice is there to shape how you move into the day from receiving instead of effort. And if you downloaded the deep receiving attunement from the Rhythm of Money website, that's there too. It's a weekly attunement to nervous system safety that you receive deeply and allow to soak in. Those tools remain part of the work, but the emphasis of the show is changing. We won't be doing a guided reflection inside every episode this season. We're going to trust the foundation we've built and begin applying it to the decisions that shape your actual financial life. If you completed the net worth and cash flow snapshots in episode 10, this is where we begin doing something with what you found. If you're new, begin with whatever you already know about your finances that caused you to choose an episode about women and money today. Now, I'm not going to tell you what your net worth should be. There were years when mine was negative. About a decade later, though, I was comfortably retired. Whatever your financial picture shows today isn't a final verdict. It's simply the clearest starting point for what you're working with now. And the crucial thing isn't where your net worth stands today. It's whether you have a reason to move it. Why improve your net worth at all? Keep that question open while I tell you about something that happened years ago when I was living in Hawaii. I was the island project manager for a land trust community that was being built for Native Hawaiian families. The program offered families a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on half an acre of land. There was no down payment, and the mortgages ranged from approximately $250 a month to $600 a month. Part of my job was finding the families who qualified financially among a list of several hundred families that qualified ethnically. I thought the hard part would be excluding families because I only had about 20 spots available. It wasn't. I went through hundreds of families to find the couple dozen who could qualify for even those very small mortgages. Many of the families were driving large trucks or expensive cars. The monthly vehicle payments were high enough to push their debt-to-income ratios beyond what the mortgage program allowed. Most couldn't qualify for a mortgage of any size, not even $1. They were in the red each month and were actually using credit cards to cover basic living expenses, like groceries. As I continued diving into these finances of all these families, I began to understand what was happening underneath their financial choices. The core issue was that some families had quietly given up on the idea that a home would be ever available to them. They had spent and they had financed in pursuit of what felt real and achievable at the time. A truck could be driven tomorrow. A home that seemed permanently beyond reach had very little influence over today's decision. A future that feels impossible has no leverage over a purchase you can make this afternoon. This became clear to me quickly as a culprit undermining so many families. Some of the families hadn't given up on owning a home. They still hoped it might happen someday. Their understanding of what it would require, however, was sized incorrectly. They assumed they would need perfect credit, tens of thousands of dollars in savings, and a kind of financial life they had already decided wasn't available to people like them. So, when a genuinely achievable path appeared with no money down and a mortgage as low as $250 a month, well, it hadn't registered as real back when they could have made it possible. Some families were making choices as though there were no future worth planning for, even if they hadn't written off the idea in their conscious mind. Others were preparing for a future much smaller than the one that was actually available. The result was the same. Without consciously deciding to do it, they had closed off an opportunity years before they had any way of knowing it would arrive and the shape it would take. And the choices that closed it off had made complete emotional sense when they were made. That project taught me something I've carried ever since. Sound spending decisions matter even before you know exactly what those decisions will make possible. They preserve choices. And an accurate understanding of what's achievable matters as much as having a future in mind at all. You can build your entire financial life around what you assume will be available, then walk past something larger because it doesn't fit the limits of what you allowed yourself to imagine. Well, I'm going to tell you in a future episode a very specific story of this for me that I think will really blow you away, but not to fill too many stories all at once. I want to just really bring us back to the question that I asked you earlier. Why improve your net worth? A larger net worth doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't determine your value, your intelligence, your generosity, or your right to feel good about your life. You improve it because of things you know you want to do with it. And you improve it even though you don't yet know everything you may want to do with it. You improve it because opportunities can appear so quickly, there isn't time to prepare for them then. And you improve it because your current idea of what's possible may be smaller than what's actually true. The version of you who hasn't decided what she wants yet deserves to still have choices. The version of you who may be underestimating what's available deserves the opportunity to find out. Your version of this pattern may have nothing to do with a truck payment. It might be a collection of expenses that no longer contributes much to your life. It might be a job you've outgrown but can't yet picture leaving. It might be lifestyle upgrades that absorbed every increase in income before that income had a time to create anything lasting. It might be a financial goal you've kept modest because wanting something larger feels uncomfortable or even impossible. The form varies. The underlying pattern is the same. You make financial decisions around the future you actually believe in and around the size you believe that future is allowed to be. Your spending will often reveal that belief before your words do. And as much as I've seen this when it undermines people, I've also seen it in my own life when it works in a good way. For several years, I lived in someone's backyard in a one-room cottage with no heat during the winter and only one window that opened during the summer and no AC for sure. For part of that time, I was earning more than I ever had before. Eventually, I was earning in the mid six figures, but I still didn't increase my living expenses. I was saving. I did not move until I bought the perfect house years later. It was about 4 years after I was making easily $500,000 a year before I moved out of that one room cottage with no heat and barely any airflow. Now, I don't recommend living without heat. The importance of that period was the clarity behind it. Something big I wanted had become real enough to me that it could compete with immediate comfort. I knew what I was building, why it mattered to me, and what I was willing to sacrifice in order to reach it. That's the kind of clarity we need before the practical strategies become meaningful. More money would be nice. Usually won't interrupt a habitual purchase. More is better than less. Probably won't hold your attention through months or years of changing how you spend, save, earn, and invest, delaying gratifications. A future has to become precise enough to influence an ordinary decision on an ordinary day. So I want you to answer 3 questions. What do you want? Why do you want it? And what are you willing to sacrifice, postpone, or change now in order to have it later? Your answer to the first question can't simply be more money. What will the money allow you to do? Will it allow you to retire from employment earlier than you otherwise could? Will it give you the ability to care for someone you love? Will it let you live somewhere different? If so, where? Will it give you greater freedom inside a marriage, a career, or a family system? Will it allow you to create something, contribute something, travel, rest, or make decisions without asking anyone else for permission or approval? Name the life the money supports. I'm going to give you a little space to begin answering. Keep the episode playing. You don't need a polished statement. Just write a few phrases or speak them into a voice memo on your phone. What do you want? Why does it matter to you? And what are you willing to do differently now to get it later? What do you want your money to make possible? Why does that future matter to you? What are you willing to sacrifice, postpone, or change now? You may not have a complete answer yet. You don't need one today. But you've begun moving from a vague desire for improvement toward a future that can actually influence a decision. Your answer may change as we move through the season. It may become larger or simpler or more exact. It may change completely. What matters now is that it becomes real enough to compete with the present as we work together. In the season 1 finale, I said season 2 would be about choosing wisely, about discernment. We'll learn to distinguish fear from wisdom, and old protection from a true signal, and a pressured yes from a decision that genuinely belongs to you. This episode is where that work begins. It begins with the future made possible by wise choice, the destination we're calibrating your inner compass to point toward. Do you believe you have a future worth planning for? And is the future you can picture sized accurately to what may be possible? My work this season is to help you with the how. We're going to work with spending plans, cash flow, saving, investing, retirement, financial resilience, and the decisions that gradually change what your financial life can support. We'll continue using what we learned about the nervous system, receiving, avoidance, and inner conflict, but those things will now support concrete financial movement. I can help you understand the strategies and how they get applied in a wise way. The what and the why must come from you. Across the decades I've spent working with women on their businesses, investments, and financial lives, I've seen people move much farther than they initially believed they could. I believe you can move from where you are toward where you want to be. It will require application, patience, and a willingness to let your choices begin reflecting the future you say you want. In the next episode, we're going to examine how change actually happens. I once wrote an entire book to teach this process because it's that important, but you don't need an entire book to begin using its central principles. We're going to look at how to make each step count so that the effort you're making starts accumulating into real change. Follow the show, and that episode will be here for you next Wednesday. And if you want reminders each week, you can go to therhythmofmoney.com to the website, get the deep receiving recording, and also a weekly reminder of each new episode. This is the rhythm of money, and you are living your true note in this very moment.